Welcome to episode 578 of the show. Today we're going to look at the question of whether high digital quotient affects how we qualify customers and potential clients. If this is your first time of listening to the show, that's a mouthful and it's loads of terms that you haven't heard before. So I'm going to go into a brief recap and some definitions so we can bring you up to speed. Apart from that, I recommend that you listen to the episodes prior. I think episode 577 and I think 576, which is where I introduced you guys to the concept of digital quotients. That's for those of you who are not familiar with the term. So I think especially episode 576 or maybe 575 is where we chart the evolution of the different intelligences where when I was a little boy, it was intelligence quotients, and then we went through emotional quotients, and now we're talking about digital quotients. And who knows what other quotients or intelligence factor we could be looking at in a couple of years, maybe another 100 years down the line, or maybe 50 years down the line, since things are moving that fast. So I'll run into some brief definitions now, but if you listen to prior episodes, especially 575, 76, 77, you'll be caught up to speed about the sorts of issues that we're talking about here when we talk about digital quotients and how that can improve or how digital quotients can be applied to improve your sales processes nowadays. So first of all, digital quotients. Digital quotients is different from IQ, intellectual quotient, which is how smart you are, how much information you can acquire, is different from emotional quotient, that is being well aware and self-regulated when it comes to emotional matters, and then interpersonal relationships. Digital quotients is about being able to acquire skills and acquire knowledge around tech and around digital stuff. And just like with the prior quotients, or should I say quotients is, I'm not sure what the plural of quotient is supposed to be. So just like with the previous ones, it's not just about how much you know, but how willing you are to apply this knowledge or these skills. So to have a high digital quotient, you need to be able to know a lot about digital skills and around tech and stuff like that. But it's not just knowing enough. You should be willing to apply this new knowledge as well. So for instance, I'm over here making this podcast. I know about the equipment that I'm supposed to use, the mics, the editing, stuff like that. But I choose rather to keep on recording on my phone. So for those of you who have been on this adventure with me this last couple of years, it's led to those interesting adventures where I'm recording and then maybe cat will start moving around in the background, or maybe I'm at the mechanic and I'm making the episode, and then people start having quarrels about the Nigerian economy. And then there was that time when I was recording and then my children burst into the room shouting daddy, daddy, daddy. And I know at least one listener in particular who reached out to me and who found that to be really cute. But bottom line, what I'm trying to say is I know what it is that I need to do to make this podcast top notch, but I'm choosing to be consistent and looking for the easiest way to do this right now. So if you're going to look at digital quotients relating to podcasting, you would say I have low digital quotient, because even though I know that I should set up a studio, use a proper microphone, proper quiet space, sound padding, use a laptop. So even though theoretically I know all that, but I don't do all that. So when it comes to podcasting, I guess you could say I have low digital quotient. So it's not just about what you know, the knowledge you have, but it's about whether you are willing and able to apply that knowledge as well. So that's the first term, digital quotients. Acquiring skills and knowledge around digital and applying that. So next, qualification. What does qualification of customers or clients means? Once you're done listening to this podcast, after you listen to episodes 575 up until now, I'll give you guys some more homework. That's for those of you who are new. Use the search function and hit qualification, type in qualification or type in sales frameworks, and you're going to see really old episodes from last year where I went into a lot of detail about what qualification is and how that works within sales frameworks. Okay, but a brief recap. Qualification is just the process of having conversations with a potential customer or with a potential client. Now, the idea behind this conversation is we're just trying to figure out who is this client, who is this person that's in front of me, what problem do they have, or what vision do they have, because I'm trying to figure out how my product or my service interacts with this, and it's going to give me the information to figure out if this is a good client to work with and whether I have a good chance of making them satisfied at the end of the day. So, for instance, back to one of the really old examples that I used on this podcast, especially since I started from a wedding photography background. So, you're a wedding photographer, but all you like to do is black and white wedding photography. Someone comes in front of you. Qualification is the process of figuring out who is this person, where do they come from, what are they interested in, are they avant-garde folks, are they basically average, everyday kind of folks? Because all this is important, because what you're delivering, black and white photography exclusively, is somewhat a highfalutin idea. It's kind of, some people would say is, what will I say, a sophisticated form of art. That's black and white photography. But for the everyday man, that's just absolute BS, because I'm going to spend several hundred thousand on my suit, and my bride is going to spend several hundred thousand on her dress and on the traditional attire and on the coral beads and blah blah blah. So how can you say you're going to shoot this whole thing in black and white? But bottom line is, this is not something that's for everyone. So, as a wedding photographer or whatever business you're involved in, you want to be sure that you're speaking to the right person. Are you guys on the same wavelength? You think this and this and this is important when it comes to wedding photography. Is this person vibing with you on the same length? And do they think those are the same things that are important with wedding photography or wedding planning as well? And it's the same whether you're an architect, for instance. You want to be sure that you guys have the same sense of aesthetics, because there's no point in designing a postmodern, designing a postmodern factory for your client and then giving them a hefty bill, when at the end of the day they would have been happy with just traditional rows and columns, because all they're doing is they're breeding chickens or maybe breeding cows. So rows and columns lined up 150 in a row with enough space for the cows or the chickens, would have been fine. So that is where we sort out all these things at the qualification stage. We're trying to figure out who is this person, what vision do they want with their building, or what vision do they want with their wedding photography. If you're a tailor, it's the same. What kind of vision are they working with this Ankara fabric that they have brought for you? What do they think is stylish? That's if you're a tailor. What is this person's personal sense of style? All this thing is important, because if someone has the fashion sense of a Ghanaian school teacher, and by the way, that's how my wife describes me. She says I have the fashion flair of a Ghanaian school teacher. How she knows this, I have absolutely no idea. But because of my drab colors and the lack of style with the way I dress myself, she just says I remind her of some Ghanaian school teachers. Apologies to Ghanaians listening to this podcast. So you need to figure out if the person you're talking to has the fashion sense of a Ghanaian school teacher, then there's absolutely no point in coming up with the latest and greatest designs that are on the latest men's magazines and stuff like that. So this person might have all the money in the world and might be able to pay you 200,000 to get this garment made. But if the person has the fashion sense of a Ghanaian school teacher and that's what he wants, then give him Ghanaian school teacher designs, or else your guys are going to get into a lot of trouble, because you have one dissatisfied client at the end of the day. So qualification, all the conversations that we have with these people, especially in the old days, would have been face to face, to give us all the information that we need so we can provide an accurate quote, and also to know if this would be a good client to work with. That is what essentially qualification is. You want some more details, you want more specific examples, especially how you can build that into a sales framework. When you're done with this, use the search function in the podcast app that you're listening to right now. Put in qualification there, put in sales framework there, and you're going to find a lot more information. So, where are we? Okay, yeah, so in the old days, qualification would have been done face to face. You guys meet at the bar, you meet in the office, you meet at their house, you meet after church, wherever, but would have been done face to face. Now, digital and the internet can make qualification easier, and that's the whole point of this podcast. If you have high digital quotient, if you have acquired the knowledge and the skills that you need around digital and tech. How can that make your sales process easier? That's the central question that we've been exploring in this podcast episode and the ones prior. So, where were we? Okay, yeah. So qualification. Okay, yeah. So digital. Okay, so digital and internet, yes, they can make qualifications easier. Yeah, I think that was my thought process. Now, the reason why they can make this whole thing easier is because you now have multiple avenues that you can carry on conversations with people who are your potential customers. Oh, sorry, one moment. Interesting that I used that example of still recording with my phone because an alarm just went off and I had to turn it off. Okay, where was I? Okay, so multiple avenues, yes. So if you have high digital quotient, then you know that there are lots of avenues that you can use with digital and with tech to make qualifying conversations easier because you have lots of avenues. So in the old days, it would have to be face to face. You'd call Mrs. Ogedengbe, Ms. Ogedengbe, good morning, ma. How are you doing? Are you in the office? Okay, I'll be there at 10 o'clock. But then if you get there at 10 o'clock, but then she left at 9:45, then especially back in the day, back in the 80s when all we had was Nitel telephone lines in Nigeria. Those old school analog lines for the rest of you who might be listening from Ghana or the UK or America, or wherever you're listening from. So, yeah, that would have been that. You'd have to call her again and then try and fix another appointment. And yeah, that game of cat and mouse would continue. But with modern digital avenues, you have. There are other avenues to carry on these conversations. So you can call Madam Ugedengbe. You get to the office for 10 o'clock like you guys agreed. She left at 9:45. That's not a problem. You try to reschedule. The same thing happens. But let's say you notice that she spends a lot of time on WhatsApp and she responds to your messages rather quickly on WhatsApp. Then you can carry the conversation on to WhatsApp. You slide into her WhatsApp inbox, and then you can carry on those conversations there, pending when you guys can meet face to face. So it makes qualification, it makes it easier to have qualification conversations with people to try and suss them out, to try and figure them out because we have multiple avenues. So if we can't see face to face, like I said, WhatsApp is available, Telegram is available because not everybody is on WhatsApp. Email is available. LinkedIn is available. You can send messages. Facebook is available. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I had an account on Pinterest, but I don't know if you can message on Pinterest, so I'm not going to say anything about that. There's also video conferencing, WhatsApp video calls. What's the other one called? The really old school one. Well, relatively old school. Skype. Yeah, so all these things are available. These are options for having qualification conversations. Now, how do we carry on these conversations? Number one, I advise, just like I did in the previous episode, that we should use digital to research these people. So check out Madame Ogedengbe's public profiles. Check out on Facebook. Check out on LinkedIn. Check out on Twitter. From the stuff that she tweets about, you'll be able to get a sense of her personality, what she's interested in. Same thing with her Facebook and her LinkedIn. Facebook and LinkedIn, especially because you'll be able to see the friends that you have in common. And once you know the friends you have in common, you'll be able to reach out to those other people. Say, hey, Mr. Tunde, what's up? How you been? How's the fam? I'm supposed to have a meeting with Madame Ogedengbe concerning ABC and XYZ. What kind of person is she? How do you think best to approach? Any tips for your boy? How can you help me out on this? Stuff like that. So that's why Facebook, even though Facebook is considered old school nowadays, Facebook is still going to be useful, and LinkedIn, because you guys can see friends that you have in common. So where was I? Okay, so researching. So you have to research, use digital to research these people. Let's see what else. Okay, another tip: keep messaging short. Too many people write long blocks of text, multiple paragraphs, 400, 500, 600 words, but let's keep it short. Because long messages overwhelm people and they create a lack of clarity on what the next step should be. So if you write an email with 1,000 words, Ms. Ogdengbe is going to open her email inbox. Most likely she's going to be looking at it on her phone, and 1,000 words, even 500 words on the phone, maybe even 200, let's say 200 words on the phone look like really long chapters of the Bible. That's the effect it's going to have. Like, whoa, what is all this? She's not going to read. She's going to skim through and maybe might give a sense of why you're reaching out, but she's not going to know what exactly she should reply to and what the next step is going to be. So keep the messaging short. Long messages are going to overwhelm. Most people are reading on the phone, and 200 words on the phone looks really long. Let's see what else. Yeah, ask questions to get them talking. So it's not about how much you write, it's about how much they talk or type. If you're doing most of the typing, then you are not making progress. So if you type 200 words and Madam Okedingbe responds, yes, and you type 500 words and she responds, okay, and you type in another 600 words and then she says, let me think about it, you don't have enough to go on. You don't know how well this relationship is progressing. So keep it short. You should be asking questions to get them talking. Like for instance, Madam Ogedengbe, was Mr. Tunde who gave me your phone number. He says that you're setting up a poultry and you need to get an architect to help design that. Is that correct? So almost like you should just respond yes, but then you push some more. So tell me more about the poultry. How many heads of chickens do you have, or how many heads of cows do you have? Who do you sell to? Let's see what else. Yeah, who do you sell to? All those kinds of questions that you architects need to ask, because you need to know how you're going to design the building. Because if she's selling to how will I put it, normal retail folks, then maybe you don't need to design a massive gate that lorries can come in, because most of the people that will be coming in would be through normal gates or side gate or whatever. And I'm not sure what kinds of questions those of you who are architects will need to ask someone if you're trying to design a slaughterhouse or a poultry house or whatever. But this is the point in the email or the Facebook or the chat or whatever, where you're asking these sorts of questions, and the goal is to get her talking or to get her typing. So if she says, oh yeah, I have 300 heads of chickens, but want to get 120 heads of cows. I'm currently supplying Mr. Biggs in Oregon. They come once a month to come and get 60 cows. They come in J5 buses, or they come in, let's see, Toyota, what's that thing called? This Toyota truck. They come in Toyota Hiluxes and blah blah blah. As the architect, you're now getting all the information that you need. Like, oh, okay, so 120 chickens. So this kind of design would be good. 120 cows. Okay, so we're thinking about buildings of this length, and her customers are coming in these kinds of vehicles. So I need to put a landing bay here or a loading bay here, and I need this kind of gate or that kind of gate. So for those of you who are architects, forgive me if I'm not doing a good job of fleshing out what the conversations would be like, but I'm sure you guys get the point. So whether you're an architect or a wedding photographer, this is the point in your WhatsApp messages or whatever, where you're asking questions. You're supposed to get them talking. So if you look and you see that you write a wall of text and then they just respond with one word, and you write another wall of text, they respond with another word, believe me, this relationship isn't going great. But if it's the other way around, one or two sentences, and then they respond with a wall of text, you're getting all the information that you need to figure them out, to figure the problem out, to figure the vision out, and how you're going to drive the relationship forward. So get them to do most of the talking. You also need to have a clear agenda before you hit the keyboard. You can't just send an email saying, good afternoon, Mrs. Ogedengbe. I got your number from Mr. Tunde. I just say, make I greet you. That kind of thing is not going to work. I just say, make I greet you. I'm calling to say hello. I'm calling to introduce myself. Those sorts of things don't work. Have a clear agenda. What is it that you're trying to achieve? And then have a plan of how you're going to move through that. Also, having a clear agenda also gives you a sense of how you're going to build on the relationship. So have a plan before you hit the keyboard and you start typing. Do not freestyle. Now, my final tip, since we've gone over 15 minutes, remember, you are having conversations with an actual person. This is a mistake that most people make. When you're face to face with someone, you know that, okay, yes, I'm having a conversation with Miss Ogedengbe, But when you're typing on WhatsApp or especially email, when you're sending an email, you forget that this is a conversation. It is not you making a sales pitch. Sorry, excuse me. It's not you making a sales pitch, and it's not you typing at people. It's a conversation with an actual person. And that's the mind frame that you should be having. If you have a mind frame that you're in an actual conversation, the words that you use, the phrases that you use in your email are going to be, sorry, excuse me, it's that time of the year. With the weather and the kids at school, everybody's having colds, and I'm not immune. I'm the one who soaks up all the viruses. At the end of the day, where was I? Yeah, so this is a conversation. So remember, keep it conversational. Even though it's email, don't be too formal. Use words and phrases that let the conversation flow. There's a time for formal emails, but the qualification conversation is not it. When you're sending the contract over the email, yes, you can use all that formal here to hither with, henceforth, all that formal lawyer language. But for now, qualifying conversations, we're trying to keep things simple and have in mind that you're having an actual conversation. So don't type at people. Don't make sales pitches in text. It's going to fall flat, especially if you're dealing with complex and expensive solutions. If you're an architect, being, what's that word? Commissioned, yeah. I think that's what you guys call it, commissioned. If you're an architect being commissioned to design a building or whatever, that is not kobo. That's not pennies and kobos. That's millions of naira. So making a sales pitch over the email, that's not going to cut it. So don't even bother trying. But if it's something a lot simpler, like let's see. Okay, you reached out to Miss Ogedengbe because you want to buy her egg shells, for instance. That one is a much more straightforward conversation. She has a poultry, they have egg or chicken waste. You want to buy it because you want to use that on your farm. That's a much more straightforward conversation. So yeah, making a sales pitch over email, especially since you tried to reach out to office 2 days before. Making a straight pitch in that kind of situation might not be a problem because it's not a complex, expensive solution. It's much more simple, and I'm assuming that it's a lower price point. That's my assumption. For those of you who trade in poultry, forgive me, it's just an assumption. Oh, by the way, with all these examples that I give, I get feedback from lots of people that they enjoy the examples. But just in case you happen to be a member of any profession or industry where I pluck my examples from and I've made lots of wrong assumptions, please send me messages, hit me up, educate me so that my scenarios will be much more accurate going forward. So that's it. I hope I've been able to give a sense of how having high digital quotient means you're going to be able to have much more fruitful conversations with your customers and potential clients, especially qualification conversations. If all these terms are too heady for you guys, I've given you tips for where you can go to get caught up. Start from episode 575 up until now. That will bring you up to speed with digital quotients. And then use the search bar for older episodes, sales frameworks, type in sales framework, type in qualification. Let's see what else. Okay, type in discovery as well. That's also another part of the process. I think that will be in the next episode. Yeah, I think that'll be for episode 578. So we'll talk about discovery in the next episode. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.